Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Grason, this is Tech with Me, and buying a laptop can be difficult. There's so much that goes into it nowadays and a lot to look out for. So I get it, it can be hard. So this is 5 things that I always look out for when buying a new laptop, and maybe it can help you out too. Now, if this does end up helping you guys out, or even if you just enjoy this video, let me know down below and maybe even subscribe. We're pushing near 50 subscribers, and I'd love for you guys to be a part of that accomplishment. Now, the first thing that I always consider when purchasing a new computer is the usability of the laptop, or rather, what am I going to be using it for? If it's a laptop that I'm going to be traveling with a lot, maybe taking it from school or work back home, or maybe just taking it with me on the go to help with editing, I'm probably going to want something on the smaller side, maybe like a 14-inch, or if I could find it, smaller. Now, if we're talking about a gaming laptop or an editing laptop, or I don't know, just something I'm going to be using at home a majority of the time, I might want the bigger screen, so I might look for something like a 16 or a 17-inch laptop. What am I going to be using this computer for is a great question to ask yourself when you're in the market for a new computer, although if you're already searching, you probably already know the answer to that. But screen size isn't all that goes into it. You know, if I'm looking for something mainly to use for scripting videos, then it might be useful for me to have a backlit keyboard. Or if it's mainly for editing, I might want better sounding, top firing speakers. These are all things to look out for, and not all laptops have these, so really thinking about and digging into what you're going to be using this laptop for is super crucial to making a great decision. And sometimes you can find every feature you want in one machine, but if you can't, it's good to know exactly what you want, because otherwise, you might show up to Best Buy, or, well, I guess Fry's doesn't exist anymore, Micro Center, Walmart, Target, I don't know, wherever you're buying this laptop, and you might make a decision that you're going to regret, because in the moment, you might think one has everything you need, but in reality, it doesn't. You don't want to do this. Know what you need and know what you want before you even go in to buy, and you're gonna have a much better experience at the end of it. So this next part is a newer thing, but it kind of complicates the buying a PC experience, okay? Windows in S mode. If you haven't heard about it, here's what it is. So this is kind of a newer thing, but it definitely complicates the experience of buying a PC, especially if you're not aware of it, because it's not really advertised well. Windows in S mode is a version of Windows that is streamlined for security, performance, and ease of use in a manner that still gives you a pretty close to classic Windows experience, but there's a lot of drawbacks. In layman's terms, it's basically the Windows version of a Chromebook. Okay, maybe it's not that bad, but it's probably not the best case scenario for 90% of people looking to buy a new computer. The big thing that you lose on a computer that runs Windows in S mode is the ability to download programs, at least at your own discretion. Pretty much anything that you put on a Windows in S mode computer has to come from the Microsoft Store itself. This doesn't seem like a huge issue at first, but the more you think about it, or the more you explore the Microsoft Store, you kind of come to realize that there's not a whole lot on there. So eventually you're going to run into some program or some software that you need, and you might not have access to it. Now, you might be thinking, all I need this computer for is web browsing, so this doesn't really affect me. But think about it. What about your precious Google Chrome? Or maybe even Firefox? Well, if you're buying an S mode laptop, then you're probably going to want to get really familiar with Microsoft Edge, because that's the only browser you're going to be using. To my knowledge, there really aren't any other browsers on the Microsoft Store, and that's more than likely because they're directly competing with Microsoft's own product. Now, on top of that, a lot of these Windows and S mode computers tend to be more cheaply built and have a worse build quality. They just tend to be cheaper laptops in general. A lot of these computers are made out of plastic rather than a metal like aluminum. They might not have a backlit keyboard or a touch screen. And maybe that's not necessarily something that you need, but I also find a lot of these computers are going to have less than 1080p resolution, which in this day and age age, I think is a little unreasonable no matter what you're paying for the computer. Now, to be fair, you can remove S mode. I've never personally had to do it, but I believe it's as simple as going to the Windows or Microsoft Store, searching up Windows in S mode, and there should be an app called Uninstall S mode. If you follow the prompts for that app, you should have a full Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer by the end of it. Now, the only thing that I would tell you guys to maybe do your research on before buying this, because I'm not 100% certain, but when S mode first came out, I did read up on it, and I read that sometimes there were still some leftover issues when you took S mode off of a PC, like some apps would work and some wouldn't, depending on what they were. So that's a risk that you might have to kind of weigh for yourself. Now, moving forward, the next thing that you 100% need to have the most of that you can afford in your PC is RAM. RAM stands for random access memory, and you'll often see it shortened as just memory on a spec sheet. RAM handles all of your multitasking, and you're gonna want as much of it as you can get. I think we've all had or seen a PC at one point that had 50,000 tabs open, and when you try to go back to the first one, it kind of freezes up, slows down, and stutters through. This isn't always caused by the memory, but 9 times out of 10, it's probably because you capped out the amount of RAM that you had. You were using it to its fullest potential, and your PC just didn't have enough of it. So you're probably gonna want at least 8 gigabytes of memory. This has been the standard or average recommended amount for a few years nowadays. But that being said, the way things are going, programs are only becoming more and more taxing on your memory as the years go by. So if it's within your budget to find a computer with 12 or even better 16 gigs of memory, then I definitely recommend spending the extra little bit to get that, because it's going to help the future-proofing and longevity of your PC in the long run. Now, this one's kind of silly, but I recently realized that I really like seeing this in a laptop, especially premium computers. And while it doesn't necessarily make or break a computer for me, it does tell me a lot about it. I've kind of found that more often than not, it just tells me how much effort a manufacturer was willing to put into the ergonomics or ease of use or even the build quality of their PC when they have this one feature in it. Now, I'm sure you're asking, what is this magic one feature that tells me everything I need to know about a computer? Well, it's really simple actually. If I try to open it with one hand, can it be done easily? And does it try to lift the entire computer up when I do it? If the first answer is yes, it's done easily, and the second answer is no, it doesn't lift the entire computer up to do it, then it's probably a good computer. Now, this doesn't tell me anything about specs or the speed of the computer, but it does tell me that the manufacturer took the time to make sure that everything about the computer is good, that it's not just quick, or it's not just fast, or it's not just the best gaming computer you can get. I guess all three of those were the same thing, but long story short, it tells me that they put effort into the way the computer looks, the way it feels to use it day to day, and it kind of shows that they care a little bit. And lastly, but definitely not leastly, what? I would never buy a computer in this day and age that used a hard drive rather than a solid state drive. Now, this is becoming less and less common, and more often than not, you're not gonna see a hard drive in a brand new computer, but every now and then it still happens. You know, sometimes maybe you're shopping online for a computer and you're not using it in person, and it just seems like a really good deal. A lot of times they might be using a hard drive in place of a solid state drive to cut costs. And while you may get more storage for your money with a hard drive, solid state drives are just so amazingly, game-changingly faster that it's worth the loss of the storage itself for the sheer speeds that you get. I've just gotten to the point where it seems like a hard drive is near unusable to me. That's why I recently put 2 terabytes of NVMe storage into my gaming PC, and I'll probably never buy or put a hard drive in a computer again. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope this helps somebody out there out a little bit, or at least I hope that you got some entertainment out of this. Let me know what you guys look for when you're purchasing a new laptop down below in the comments. I would really like to hear from you guys, and don't forget as well, we're trying to push for 50 subs, so if you want to be a part of that accomplishment, if you could subscribe, leave me a comment, maybe a like, I would love that. Thank you guys very kindly for watching. My name is Grayson, and this has been Tech with Me.